Hello and welcome to all the viewers of Nutrition Nectar. It's lovely to have all of you here, and it's very nice to have Dr. Rohina Joshi with us this evening. Thank you so much for joining us for the series of Nutrition Nectar Fresh from My Garden, another one coming your way today. It's Rohina Joshi, I must say, has been very, very kind in joining us at our convenient time because it's 4:30 in the evening for us, but I think it's 10 p.m. for you, Rohina, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. So, it's probably bedtime already for her in Australia, but she's been very kind to join us at our convenient time. So, thank you so much, Rohina, for being here today to talk about your garden. Before I introduce Rohina to all of you, let me request you to put your questions, if any, in the chat box, please. Rohina Joshi is a Scientia Associate Professor at the School of Population Health, Faculty of Medicine, University of New South Wales, Sydney, Australia, and the head of the Global Health Workforce at the George Institute for Global Health. She was awarded a Future Leader Fellowship from the Australian National Heart Foundation and a Scientia Fellowship from UNSW, that's University of New South Wales. Her research interests include strengthening health systems using task sharing between physician and non-physician health workers to improve access to healthcare in resource-poor settings and improving health information systems in low and middle income countries using verbal autopsy. She has also won awards and accolades, but she hasn't shared that in her CV with us. But we are aware of it, and so congratulations on all the awards and accolades that you have won, Rohina. We're really so happy to know about that. And to those of you who are dietitians who are viewing this show, Rohina is the daughter of our very own Molly Joshi, who is who is a very senior dietitian in India and also a very well-known dietitian in India. So we're very happy to have Rohina with us today. So can we begin with the questions, Rohina? I have just two or three for you.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. One of the things that I'd like to just add is I'm also a wife and a mom of two little boys. So probably that's more relevant to today's talk than my work life. So just to add that to.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Let me begin by asking the first question. What grows in your kitchen garden?
Sure. Thanks. Look, I'm very new to kitchen garden growing. And very recently, I think it was mostly during this phase of the pandemic where we were stuck in the house, we started container gardening. And so what we are growing in the garden is spinach and dwarf beans, little baby cucumbers, tomatoes, and a bunch of herbs. So mint, basil, parsley, rosemary. So yeah, a mixture of different things.
Okay, that sounds interesting. And you're lucky to be growing such lovely herbs in your garden, I think. Do you use any special methods or ingredients in growing these? And if yes, can you please share them with our viewers?
Sure. So one of the first things that I figured out when I was growing, especially herbs, was I was competing with the little green worms and snails. So, and their capacity to consume an entire mint plant was massive, even though they were just tiny little green worms. So, and I didn't want to use a pesticide on the mint because it's just, we eat it raw mostly. So I ended up using a mix of diluted vinegar with some garlic and chili powder. I would just, mix it in the mixie and use it with a little spray in a spray bottle. So I would spray the plants with that, and that did help. And for the snails, a trick that again I learned it on online was to use beer. So not the best form of using beer. It's probably a bit of a waste, but I would just take little containers and pour a bit of beer in it. So because of the yeast in it, the snails get attracted to it. And by morning, you would like each day I would pick out about a dozen snails from the garden, from these little containers. Otherwise, they just tend to eat the little saplings, and the saplings don't get a chance to even, they don't get any chance to survive. So this I found was quite helpful, and now my little cucumber saplings have got a chance to survive, and they are now they're flowering and fruiting.
Okay,
I've got
that's so interesting. So feed the snails some beer and they'll stay away from the plants, right?
That's right. I've got a couple of pictures. If you mind, if you don't mind, I can share them with the viewers.
Please.
I'll just share my screen.
Okay, while you're getting your slides ready, I would like to say hello to some of the viewers here. Okay, I have to go back to exiting full screen. Yeah, now I can see the chat. Madhu Sharma, hi Sheela, ready for another great session today. Thank you so much, Madhu. Thank you for being here, and you're such a great support always. Good evening, Dr. Anjali Divans in Beats College, Simla. That's probably somebody who you know, maybe Molly knows. Uh,
Maybe who knows.
yeah, Kamala Gopalan. Kamala, I'm so honored that you're here. It's so lovely to see you, Kamala. Thank you so much for being here. And I think this is the first time you're coming onto a Nutrition Nectar show. I hope to see you more often. It's really lovely to see you here. Poonam Bindra, thank you so much. Hello, Rohina, lovely seeing you. Okay, that's probably somebody
Hi.
saying hi to you. Aryan Maan, welcome to you too. Molly Joshi, of course, how can you miss the show, Molly? Thank you so much for being here. And I'm sure you're very happy to see your daughter here. Um, Manjula Jain, enjoying it. Thank you very much, Manjula. And Molly, heartiest congratulations is what Aryan is saying. All right. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining this show and for being here. There's one more person saying good evening, Sushma Kashyap. Thank you all for joining. And over to you, Rohina. Please continue.
Thank you so much. So I thought I'd just share some of the pictures from my garden. This is not mine. This is from a slide picture that was available online. But I thought I'd talk a little bit about gardening to nourish both the body in terms of nutrition nectar, but also the mind, especially considering that quite a lot of us are in lockdown, in quarantine, can't go around that much. So, as I said, we use container gardening in our house. There are a number of advantages of container gardening, but the reason why we chose container gardening for our house was because we have a relatively small space. The quality of the soil is not that good. So a lot of the soil in the area that we are is actually contaminated. So even if we were to do to grow plants in the land, we'd have to actually change the topsoil. And the third thing is it's all do it yourself. We have a gardener to mow our lawn, but for the vegetable garden, it's my baby. So and one has the advantage of being able to take care of the soil and know what goes in terms of compost, in terms of any other waste, and the quantity of water. So we started off, I think this was end of August, um, and now I've got little plants growing there. So if you can see the joy of having little baby cucumbers in your garden, and I go and say hello to them at least once a day to make sure that they are fine, but also to see that there are no worms or grubs or snails growing there. As I said, I don't use insecticides or pesticides, so I just need to manually check that they're doing fine. Um, so we're growing beans, baby cucumbers, salad leaves, silver beet, nasturtium, which can be eaten as in a salad or even just for to beautify, adding that variety to the garden bed, or as you plate things up. Capsicum, leek, tomato, spinach, and kale. And spinach and kale literally goes into almost all the dishes in our house, from eggs to mince. It just, and even rice. So that's a nice way to incorporate some greens into our diet, especially because I've got two young kids who, like to eat raw vegetables, but don't like to eat cooked vegetables. So this is one way that it's part of their diet,
Wow.
along with a couple of other things.
That's so unusual. Kids liking raw vegetables.
Yeah, look, they will eat raw carrots. They don't like it cooked. They'll eat raw spinach. Again, they don't like it cooked. So uh, chopping up kale and putting that in the mince or the rice, they'll eat that happily. So
Wow.
that with a protein is a balanced meal. Um, so we also grow some lemon, kaffir limes over here. On my left, you can see little baby kaffir limes over there. The leaves are used. We do a bit of Thai cooking, in which Thai green curry would have kaffir lime leaves. So if you want to make Asian meatballs, you can dice them finely and use the leaves. There's lemon growing on the right side, and then at the bottom picture over there, we've got oregano, lemon thyme, and baby basil. Um, so yeah, and I think right at the back it's dark basil, which is just few leaves left because I used it up in cooking. Um, we also have curry leaf, chili, and I added this picture just to show that I started off with a little vertical garden, which was basically pots on a stand. And I used that to grow spinach and parsley, which would go into everyday cooking. So initially, it was just a very small investment in terms of getting these little pots, which was available from the local shop. But since then, now it's moved back and I've got the larger containers. Um, so that was about nourishing the body, but there's also gardening to nourish the mind. And as I said, since March, we went into initially in lockdown, but also working from home, where there was a set of anxieties and just not knowing what's happening around the world. That I decided that I needed to do something. So we started off with this succulent garden bed. And I say we because my husband dug this patch of land, and I grew these plants. And I wanted to show my little aloe vera in all its beauty. This was the first time that I grew aloe vera, and it actually had flowers. And apart from nourishing the mind, I've also used it to treat just minor burns. It was really helpful just using the gel and applying it to a very minor burn. It just cooled that part of the skin down, and it was really helpful.
So did you just use a fresh gel, pluck the leaf and then cut it open and use the fresh gel?
That's right. I just
Okay.
took, yeah, one of the lower leaves, washed it off, took off the lower, just took off the upper skin.
Hmm.
And it was a beautiful sap, like a gel, which I could just take and put on the burnt skin. And instantly, it was better than ice, applying cold water compress. It just calmed the burnt area quite quickly. Um, and so apart from that succulent garden, which is downstairs, I've got a little balcony, which in the study over here, if I walk out, that's my balcony. And in a day with many Zoom calls, it's nice to just step out, especially with my dog who follows me everywhere.
It's so
Um,
cute.
we step out and enjoy the garden and the view outside. So in a very short space of, I think, 4 or 5 months, we went from probably 3 or 4 succulents to now more than 90 varieties of succulents and cacti. Uh,
Wow.
it's a joy because I get to share this with friends within the community, and also buy things. And whenever you find a rare succulent, it's just such a joy to to bring it home and add it to the collection.
Yeah.
Um, so that's been a bit of gardening for the mind. Um, I also wanted to share this thing about reusing and repurposing vegetables. So this cabbage over here was completely by chance. We'd used the top part of the cabbage. This is a Chinese cabbage, and I had just left it over there that I'll chuck it in the compost. And the next day I saw these this new leaves growing. And since then I took this cabbage and I put it into the veggie patch, and it grew into a proper full plant. So in our veggie patch, we are regrowing celery. So we've used the top portion, and the bottom bit, I put it in water for a couple of days. And once the roots grow, I put it into the garden bed. So celery, cabbage, bok choy, spring onions, silver beet, and leek currently are in the garden. I did not buy seeds or saplings. I've just reused, the leftover of the plant.
Oh, that's interesting.
Um, And so the other thing, again, this is also a 2 month old hobby, if you might, is the bokoshi compost bin. It's basically a Japanese form of fermented composting. All the kitchen waste goes into this bin, and I spray a little bit of enzyme spray on it to increase, like to hasten the process of composting. And it's got a little tap, that green tap at the bottom that you can see. And right next to it, I've taken a little bit of that liquid to show that, that's the product in terms of the liquid, which I take every 2 or 3 days. And then after about 3 or 4 weeks, I take the compost and mix it with the soil. So it adds to the soil quality.
Wow.
And yeah, so I'm trying to incorporate plants in our home. So in the study, in the living room, just that wherever you go, there's some form of calmness, greenery, and also, repurposing old, if you can see on the top right-hand corner, I've got little candle stands and little cheese containers. So at the base of those containers, I've put little stone pebbles, and I make sure that I don't drown the succulents in them. So yeah, that's pretty much it. This
Oh,
last picture is a little ladybug which is sitting on one of my succulents on on the first floor. So it's a joy to see birds and insects, coming and visiting us.
so beautiful.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a bit from our part of the world.
Wow, that's amazing. Considering you're such a busy person and you travel so much, you're working full time, you have a family, with all of that, you managed to grow such a beautiful garden and lovely kitchen garden as well, which you can use in your kitchen. I will come to the next question. Before that, a lot of people are saying hello, it looks like. Dharani Krishnan, thank you so much for joining us. You know Molly so well, and so I'm sure you'll appreciate Molly's daughter equally well. Awesome program. Thank you so much. Okay, Molly has a message. Kamala and myself were classmates from Baroda. How sweet is that? It's so nice to know that Molly and Kamala were, that many years ago, they were classmates in Baroda and they still keep in touch and they're very good friends. It's so lovely that you shared this, Molly. Thank you so much. And of course, Molly, I always appreciate your support to Nutrition Nectar programs and, everything else. Thank you so much for being here. Manjula Jain, hope Rohina remembers me.
She
Okay.
was my teacher.
Oh,
And
wow.
Manjula Jain is my teacher from school.
Oh,
Of course.
how lovely. So nice. Thank you, ma'am, Manjula Jain, for being here. Proud of you, she says. Wow. I'm sure who wouldn't be, right? Because Rohina is doing so well. So thank you, ma'am, for joining us. Sarita Kumar. Oh, so nice to see you, Sarita. Sarita was, in the last show, Nutrition Nectar Fresh from My Garden series. She's from Bangalore. She has this old Bangalore resort and she grows her own big garden. And so she shared her garden with us last time. She says, so good to be with you again. I'm learning a lot more now. Okay. So I especially the beer and the snails, I can't get over that.
I
Okay.
did not believe that tip until I saw it by my it was, yeah, it works.
Yeah, yeah, it does work. So maybe Sarita, you could try that too. But anyway, more knowledge to grow better veggies. Why not? This platform is all about sharing knowledge and learning from each other and having fun also along the way. Sanvalka says, "Hi Rohina, this is Shubha Sanvalka from Molly's Aqua
Swim-
Kitty group."
yes, still swimming.
Wow. That's so great. Okay, Molly, thank you so much for bringing all your friends on this program. truly happy and proud to listen to you. Thank you so much, Shubha ma'am. Dharani says again, lovely plans, dietitian grandma effect. Okay.
It
Uh,
is. It is definitely,
Dietitian grandma effect.
yeah, my parents, they loved gardening. They had a beautiful garden. I loved spending time. So we grew our own vegetables and onions and garlic and lemons. So that's the childhood thing. We don't have the luxury of space or having a gardener
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So it's much more sort of, it's a mini version, but I think childhood influences have it has a huge influence in our lives,
Yeah,
the experiences.
absolutely. And I'm sure your children are learning from you too. So the dietitian grandma does have a very, very big influence, I must say. Sarita again says the soil looks so rich. It probably is, right? In Sydney, in where you live, is the soil very rich?
So the soil where I live, this was so where I live is the Sydney Olympic Park Athletes Village. So this entire area was actually a dumpster many years ago,
Hmm.
and about when the Olympics took place in the year 2000. And so they reconverted this entire area into the Olympic Village, and this was where the athletes lived. So this particular house was actually one of the diplomats stayed during the 2000 Olympics. So the soil is not really good. In fact, they say do not grow things directly in the soil,
Oh,
or get your soil. You can get your soil tested freely by by one of the universities. So we didn't go down that path. We just thought let's mix our own soil. So I did a bit of research for the first time to try and figure out, okay, you can use volcanics, permite, and a whole bunch of other soils that you mix together to and there's the German technique of composting soil. So you use wood and then kitchen waste and then soil, and then the last 30 centimeters of the container should be like rich soil, which I then mix. So there was a lot of YouTubing.
okay. So there you have the answer about the soil, Sarita. Ritu Jain says, beautiful plants and garden, Rohina. Jatinder Gambhir says, beautiful plants. Mona Kansal says, hello, wonderful session. Thank you very much. Madhu Sharma says, very interesting, Rohina. Wonderful garden, so inspiring. Wow. You're already inspiring so many people, Rohina. Love your garden again. Really lovely garden. So a lot of compliments coming your way, Rohina. Thank you so much. And once again, thank you all for joining us. So going to the very last question, how do you use your kitchen? How do you use the produce from your garden in your kitchen?
Yeah, so that's I use it almost every day. So be it in the morning making an omelette, so just plucking one or two spinach leaves, or if you're making a sambar, some curry leaves, chili. So it's just about, I'll tell my boys, go and get some parsley or get some curry leaves. So involving them also to go out and get things. Like today for lunch, I had chickpeas with greens. So I plucked some silver beets, some spinach, and oregano from the garden, and cooked it along with my chickpeas. So that was a nice full-on salad for lunch, and it's nice because you know what's gone into the into the vegetable, and to bring it inside into the kitchen and then eat it is it's quite nice.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And you also said something about today's dinner or lunch or something like that, right?
Today's lunch was what spinach, silver beet, and chickpeas. So the greens were all from the garden.
Oh, lovely. So I think it's a beautiful way of using fresh produce from the garden. And there is also, people saying lovely garden and love your mini kitchen garden. Loved your mini kitchen garden when I visited you in Sydney. SK Man. Okay, Professor
Oh,
Man.
yes.
Wow. Thank you so much for joining this program, ma'am. I'm so honored that you're here. Thank you so much, Professor Mann. So she did visit you in Sydney, it looks like.
He visited me in Sydney, and that time it was a much smaller couple of pots. But it's the pots have grown since then, so it's time for another visit.
Yes,
And
ma'am. I hope you're, listening to this. Rohina is waiting for you to visit her again. I'm sorry, I didn't really recognize the name Aryan Man, but when I saw SK Man, I
yeah,
uh, We all know who ma'am is. Thank you so much, ma'am. Really an honor to have you on this show. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask. Rohina, meanwhile, if you have anything else to add before, you know, before we end the show, would you like to say something?
Um, Look, I think it's we live in a little community over here. There are about 2,000 uh, people, between houses and apartments over here. I found gardening a really nice way to interact as well. So, during Easter, I had a friend who came home with a little succulent and she'd baked a couple of things. And in spring, I took few things to a couple of my friends within the community, to call out each other and say, "Do you have a plant?" Or, so I think it's just a nice way of engaging with neighbors, with community members. It's just added another level of yeah, just connecting with people, because we usually say connecting with food, or food or drinks, but this is connecting through a garden.
Nature.
And even though it's an individual garden, it's also about sharing things across different gardens.
Yeah, that's lovely. I know connecting with nature, I think, is, as you said, it's very heartening for the mind, body, and soul. Nature is always, makes us feel good, and I think you're doing a wonderful job, Rohina. Thank you so much for sharing all of these, thoughts and your valuable knowledge and your garden with the viewers. Uh, okay, Dr. Mann is saying, thanks, love this program. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And once again, many thanks to Rohina for coming on the show in spite of it being so late. It's probably nearing 10:30 for you, but really nice of you to join in. Thank you so much once again. And I must thank Molly for introducing us to each other, because she was the one who said Rohina has a lovely garden. So I said, yes, I must get you some time on the show. So thank you, Molly. Thank you, Rohina, and thank you to all the viewers on Nutrition Nectar for your support. Some of you come regularly on my show. Thank you so much for your support. And those of you who are new, if you would like to come again, uh, probably join again for in our future shows, please feel free to do so. Thank you so much for joining today. And this probably might be the last program for this year, because it's Christmas is around the corner and all of that. So Merry Christmas to all of you, Happy Holidays, and thank you once again. Have a great weekend. Bye
Thank you
bye.
so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's just such a fantastic show. And
Thank you.
you're a great host to keep it all really nice and smooth and very informal. So I enjoyed being part of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rohina. Pleasure having you. Bye bye.